Welcome to the Common Geeking Program, a book club podcast where each episode, three of us read up on a topic and then discuss it from geeky, nerdy perspectives. This week, I am your host, Pat, and we'll be discussing The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and other anthology series, slash something that's not really an anthology series, but we'll get into that. I am joined by two people, each of whom has selected a domain that they think connects to our topic and theme this week, and they are Chowder than Jeff.
Howdy! I'm Timo, or Chowder, whichever you prefer.
Howdy!
Howdy, y'all!
Howdy!
There's a skank in my boot!
You say there's a skank in your boot?
That's what I heard. I heard skank in my boot.
Well, I guess
what are you talking about?
Anyways, I'm talking about the OVA
I gotta know.
movie,
You're keeping me in such suspense.
Robot Carnival. Yeah, it's an anime.
Neato.
Released in 1987.
Damn.
My name is Jeff Leavitt, and I guess for better or for worse, I'm going to be talking about the British romantic comedy Love Actually, and we'll see how that goes.
Is Love Actually an anthology, or?
I mean, it's comparable to an anthology. I was going to talk
It's
about
similar.
either that or Black Mirror, but Black Mirror seemed a little bit too cookie cutter, so
And we've already talked about Black Mirror, so
I figured this would give us more interesting things to talk about.
yeah,
I guess,
like
but
it.
Black Mirror probably would have gotten us more clicks, so, you kind of did us the disservice.
We've already talked about Black Mirror.
Truth. I might have already talked about Love Actually, too. I actually don't
Maybe.
remember.
I don't know. Well, before we openly discuss everything at the end and duke this out, we're going to start by summarizing our topic and domains. We are going to end the episode with a competitive rating section to determine who best contributed and whether today's topic is actually enjoyable or if Pat's a piece of shit.
Can't both be true?
You know, what I'm going to actually start out with is a little bit of a story time. So,
Okay.
today at work, I left my, desk area and went out to just get a nice little break, check my phone, do a whole bunch of other stuff, and I noticed 4 emails consecutively in a row from today.
Oh shit,
From
4 emails!
Epic, the creator of Fortnite, as most people know them, but also just like a bunch of other games. And
As
they
well
were
as the
all-
Unreal Engine.
Yes,
That's who the emails are from?
yeah, the emails from them, specifically, they are receipts from purchases that I had made in their store.
Oh, shit.
Except
You hadn't.
I was at work all day, and I did not make these purchases.
Oh, no.
That's
There
not
were
good.
4 charges on my account for like $175 total of
Yikes.
somebody buying in-game items on Fortnite
Oh.
to my account.
Oh, dear.
Do you play
So,
Fortnite?
I used to. I don't really a lot anymore, and I certainly
But
never
to your account,
bought-
so it doesn't,
Yeah, it doesn't benefit them at all. Like,
So-
all they did was inconvenience me, make me have to get a new credit card and change all my passwords and shit. So whoever the fuck is out there who stole my shit, I hope you die.
Did you find anything else out about it? Or
No,
that's just kind of where it ends?
I'm waiting for Epic to email me back. I submitted the claim through, my credit card company, and they canceled my account and sent me a new card. But,
Damn. That's fucked, bro.
yeah, I was pissed the fuck off.
I found out that I haven't been getting paychecks for the past 3 weeks.
That's pretty fucked too, man.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
very fucked, yes.
Because the school changed my my punch number and didn't tell me. And I don't
What?
think it was on purpose. Because it's only 1 digit off, and everyone else I've talked to has the same exact number from last semester. So
You think somebody just fat-fingered it?
Yeah, I do. Because it's a 6 instead of... The last digit is a 6 instead of a 5. It ended with 5-5 before,
Dude,
now it ends with 5-6.
Somebody's
and I'm
gonna
like,
find your fucking shit.
I'm not
Don't
going to
tell
say the
them
whole
this.
number. Yeah, people are going to go punch in for work for me. Ah!
Yeah. So
So...
moral of the story.
I'll be getting the back pay, but I might not be seeing most of that paycheck till 2 weeks from now, which really sucks. It'll be a big ass paycheck since it's, the past 4
Big
weeks.
ass
plus
paycheck.
Big
But it'll
ass
still suck.
paycheck. But it still sucks, yeah. I'm having
We
to
got-
kind of slum it off my credit card till then. But
Yeah. Anyway, moral of the story, kids. Change your passwords. Don't use the same password for everything.
Hell knows I do.
And don't make your password or 123456 or
Yeah.
QWERTY.
God damn it.
or ask
if I
them-
didn't have to change my password before, now I definitely have to.
Don't use your birthdays. Pretty much look up a list of, commonly available passwords on the internet, and if your password resembles any of those, you should probably change it.
Yeah.
Word.
But let's
Did yours?
finally... What? No, mine did not in any way, but it was the same across my PayPal and my Epic account, and that's how they got
Yikes.
all of that to work.
So did you go and change that afterward?
Yeah, I changed like every single one of my passwords besides my Xbox and PlayStation accounts, which I will do after we are done recording this. But
Speaking of that, my Skype, when I tried to sign in to Skype today, they're like, oh, your Microsoft account has been suspended because your account has been sending out spam to people. And I'm like, what? And then I went and looked at my recent activity, and there was fucking nothing there. So I don't know what that was about.
I gotta purge one of my accounts, my email accounts, because it's just like nothing but fucking junk mail now. So, anyway, we should start recording now. Or not recording, but like...
We haven't been recording this whole time.
We should
That
start
clap
actually
meant
talking
nothing.
about the shit. Alright.
Word.
So today we are talking about The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is an anthology series / film, I suppose, written, directed, and produced by the Coen brothers. They are...
Should we give a brief synopsis of what anthology series are?
Yeah, so an anthology film or series is something that is a group of small stories or like small short films that are grouped together by not necessarily a theme, but just like
They're like packaged together.
Yeah, they're packaged together. So a famous one is The Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's an anthology TV series. Black Mirror's in the same vein. Stephen King has a collection of short stories called like 4 Minutes to Midnight or some shit like that. That's an anthology because they're all shorter than his normal novels and grouped together.
I'm pretty sure Fantasia is considered an anthology because...
Interesting. I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that was actually the other anthology I was considering of repping, but I went with Robot Carnival because I'm a fucking hipster.
I haven't seen Fantasia in years.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw Fantasia.
That brings me back to fucking elementary school, watching that shit in like music class or something.
So The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is specifically 6 vignettes or short films that are all Wild West themed.
Yeah.
Which makes for some interesting situations. So I guess we can just jump into it. But I do want to say that the most surprising thing about this film to me was how star-studded the cast was.
Yeah.
Because
like
this...
Liam Neeson and
yes, Liam Neeson, Mr. I waited outside a bar hoping to murder a black man.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least he was saying it in the context of like, yo, this is fucked up and I'm
somebody
owning up
raped
to
my
it.
friend, but yeah, I don't know, man. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's not really...
We're getting off topic. This is
I'm
not
just
a
saying,
Liam Neeson hate podcast.
It's a red flag that he actually admitted it, you know?
I know,
Yeah,
but
that's true. I mean, it's a red flag that he did it, not that he admitted it.
Admitting it is fine. Doing it is bad.
Yes.
Anyway, it's also got James Franco, Brendan Gleeson, a lot of good people.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just jump into it. We'll start off with the first of the 6 vignettes.
The one that's actually about Buster Scruggs.
It's called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is the first one.
Yeah.
So we meet Buster Scruggs, who is played by Tim Blake Nelson, I believe.
Is that guy's name?
I believe it's Tim Blake Nelson.
He's the guy who plays like fucking Brain in the Hulk movie,
is
right?
Tim Blake Nelson. He also plays the dude in Holes, the doctor.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he
It's been a while since I've seen Holes.
Yeah. He is known as like one of the fastest guns in the Wild West. He sings a lot. He's riding his horse into town. He goes into a cantina.
Also, he wears a literal white hat.
Yeah. All of his stuff is white. Like, he's just dressed in white. Which is
impressive given how many people he murders.
True. Get really bloodstained. But he arrives at a cantina full of outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
But they make... or no, this is before that one. Cantina full of outlaws. He ends up in a shootout with them. Fucking blows all their brains out. Because they think he's a
snobby looking motherfucker.
Yeah. So
they're all gruff and tumble. And then, he's like, yo, stop being a dick. And then the guy draws his gun and he shoots him in the head and he shoots everyone else. Yeah. Because that's how you do.
So it's just like to show off exactly how fast his gun is and how badass he is. So
he's a skilled motherfucker.
Killing all those bitches. And then he goes to town to go to a saloon where he has to give up his guns at the door because there's
Why?
no firearms policy.
Why you do this, Chowder?
What?
What did he do?
What did I do? What
Did
did
he-
I...
Weird. It just popped up on your screen and said, "Gonna log back off and back on again."
What?
That
Oh,
was
Which is what you said
before.
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, that's weird. I'm not gonna log off and
excuse
back on. Go on.
Sorry, continue.
All right, so he goes in and sees a round of poker happening. Decides to sit down and ask if he can play in, but they
And
say
fucking Clumsy Brown. What's his name? His
Surly
name is
Joe.
like, yeah, no, the actor though.
Yeah, I don't fucking know his name.
Clumsy
Yeah.
Brown. That
Um,
sounds wrong.
So he
I think
sits
it's that
down
then.
and looks at the cards, and then once he sees what the cards are, decides he does not want to play
Oh, I forgot every time I Google things, everyone turns into a robot. God damn it.
because he has been dealt the dead man's hand, which is a pair of black eights and a pair of black aces with an unknown fifth card. That is a just historical nod to Wild Bill Hickok. It was supposedly the hand that he was dealt before he got shot.
Oh, that's what that was about. Okay.
Yeah, it's just bad
Clancy
luck.
Brown.
It's bad luck in general to get dealt those cards.
That makes a lot more sense.
Buster refuses to play, and Surly Joe takes offense to that because he says once you've seen him, you have to play him. He shows that he, in fact, is armed, even though he's not allowed to be, and Buster
fucking
Scruggs
got
takes
through.
offense to this because he is not
They
a
made him
coward.
take his gun. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he does is he slams his foot on the table, breaking a plank, hitting the gun that is in Surly Joe's hand into his chin and shooting it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Literally blowing the smile off of his face.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
then
that's Colin Brothers' sense of humor for you, yeah.
In the aftermath of this, Buster breaks into a song about the guy he just killed, and everybody starts going crazy. But then Surly Joe's brother shows up and challenges Buster Scruggs to a duel to defend his brother's honor, I guess, or some shit like that. Just to avenge him. And then when they're out there, Buster Scruggs is just not giving a shit, shoots all 5 fingers off the other guy's shooting hand, and then with the 6th shot in his gun, because it's a 6-shooter, he lines up a shot in a mirror over his shoulder and shoots him in
Upside
the
down.
head. Upside down, yeah. So it's just like he's just showing off. And then immediately after that happens, a cowboy rides into town dressed in all black. Challenges.
Especially a black hat.
And it's
Yeah.
great because it's like, oh, the Wild West music on the fucking harmonica, and then the guy
Yeah.
rides up and he's playing the harmonica.
So they come in, and I don't think he has a name really. He's just like
No, he just shows up.
a
He's just a
cowboy.
drifter. Yeah.
He has heard that Buster Scruggs is the fastest gun in the West and wants to challenge him to a duel. And Buster's like, all right, whatever. I already killed one guy. I guess I have to kill another. Before Buster can even react,
Yeah, because he's like, do you want to count down? And
yeah,
Buster's
he
like,
asks if he needs a count. He's like, no, sir. And then immediately after he finishes that, sir, he is shot in the head. But it takes this long, arduous process to actually like go through the dying process. He takes his hat off, sees that there's a hole in the front, then looks at the back, sees that there's a blood-splattered hole in the back. Then it pans up to his forehead, and you see the actual bullet wound. Then he goes like, oh shit, or something to that effect, and falls over.
yeah.
And
But
then
not before
his
looking
spirit sings a song.
At a mirror.
Yeah. He looks in the mirror, and that's how he
Oh,
sees.
yeah.
the bullet
I forgot
wound.
about that. That's really great.
So then he falls over, his spirit starts riding out of his body and up into the sky with wings, and he sings this song called, like, When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings, which is
Yeah.
a fantastic song, by the way. I'm pretty sure the song won an awards at Sundance or some shit like that. And
Also, it's a duet. Because
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the black,
with the guy who killed him.
the black-hatted man, as he's riding out of town, is singing this with him. It's fantastic.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
would highly recommend, if you only watch one of these, that is a good one.
Yeah, I think that they kind of... I'm not going to say that they each go down in enjoyability for me, but they kind of like get less ridiculous each time and more like, realistic. So then-
well, I wouldn't call it realistic.
Well, not realistic, but more like less jovial each time, right? Like there's like a lot of fun in that one, right? And then
Yeah, I would say that.
and then
It
on the
kinda-
last one's like pretty dark, and there wasn't like a lot of like haha jokes in there,
Yeah, last one's dark. The second to last one's real dark.
I mean, second to last one's also real racist, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, maybe I'm misremembering the order, but
let's go to the next one called
Algodones, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would think it's Algodones. or it's algodones. It's probably not algodones. It takes place in New Mexico, so whatever.
Yeah, so what we have here, you have this guy, you have James Franco the cowboy. He walks into a bank and holds the clerk teller man at the counter at gunpoint.
Yes, but the most important part about this is that the man behind the counter is the fucking dude from Office Space who doesn't have a desk, and he just goes up and he's like, hello, excuse me,
I forgot
I don't have a
about
desk.
that.
He plays pretty much the same fucking character.
Yeah.
He's just rambling, and it's amazing. I love it.
Anyways, that dude, he makes his getaway by like ducking under the table and like firing off 3 shotguns
that are just mounted to the floor, always in position, ready to do this.
Yeah. And anyways, so James Franco takes the money and leaves, but like, what do you know? It's the clerk teller, and he's firing at James Franco, and he's covered in pots and pans and shit.
Yeah.
James Franco tries to shoot him, but he's bulletproof on the account of his pots and pans.
Yeah. So James Franco ends up running out the front door, and then he like gets shot behind a well, and then he sees the man running out covered in pots and pans. As he's taking his 6-shooter out to try to shoot him, every time it ricochets off, this old man just yells, "Pan shot! Pan shot!" It's fucking hilarious. He's trying to get his horse to come over.
Anyways, really that old man like runs up to him and knocks him out with the butt of his rifle. When James Franco wakes up, he finds himself on the end of a noose, being told by a bunch of I'm guessing they're like vigilantes or something.
Oh, there's like the sheriff or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Lawman. Alright.
Lawman and a jury of his peers.
Yep. Saying that they already tried him and they found him guilty while he was unconscious.
No, he was there. He was just out of it. They said like you were spouting some feverish thing, but
alright, but well, anyways, just as they're about to hang him, they get attacked by racial stereotypes of the Comanche people.
Yeah,
and the Comanche kill the lawman and his posse and just leave James Franco there on top of his horse with a noose around his neck. But hey, look, it's lucky day for James Franco because somebody comes and gets him off his noose.
It's a rancher.
A rancher, quote unquote.
Quote unquote. When that guy was walking up and I saw that he was like had kind of a chubbier face and was more bearded, I was like, is it Seth Rogen? And then it wasn't. And I was kind of sad.
I wanted it to be Seth Rogen so bad. But he ends up taking him out of the noose by just shooting the rope instead of walking over and untying it.
Yeah, but he misses the first time, so the horse that he's standing on runs away, so he's like flailing there, and then he's like, hold still, and then he shoots the fucking rope, finally.
Yeah, hold still as you're swinging from a tree by your neck.
That probably should have killed him, considering like the way nooses work. But whatever, that's
yeah. I mean, that's not the first departure from reality that we see in this movie, Chowder. Yeah.
So. Anyway, so unfortunately, it turns out said rancher was actually a rustler, and those cattle he was rustling were stolen. So he gets captured again by a different sheriff and his posse, and gets hung for that, and
but not before seeing a pretty girl.
Yeah, he like meets eyes with a girl in the crowd right before he's about to be hanged, and then he's like, "That's a pretty girl," and then they put the bag in his head and he drops.
And then and then everybody cheers after.
I really liked also right before that though. There was like he was being hanged with like 4 people, and one of them was like fucking crying, and he turns to the guy and goes, "First time."
Yeah, that was really funny. I like that.
Alright, so the third one is the one with Liam Neeson, is that right?
Yep.
Yep, it's called Meal Ticket.
Meal Ticket. So it starts off, so Liam Neeson and his partner or brother, I don't know.
They're not related.
They're not related? Does it say that at any point? Or
it doesn't say for any reason that they are related.
Okay,
but
whatever.
I guess it does draw parallels to the Cain and Abel story, but whatever.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I thought they were brothers, but it doesn't say that explicitly. So they could be, they couldn't be. Anyway, they're partners, and his partner is a guy with no arms and legs. And basically, they have a whole shtick where they go around from town to town, and they, the guy with no arms and legs is up on stage, and he's doing soliloquies of, like, you know, Cain and Abel and other
Cain and Abel, Shelley's poem Ozymandias, Shakespeare's Sonnet 29, and the Gettysburg Address are all...
Yeah, the Gettysburg Address, that one caught me off guard. I was like,
so
right.
We'll talk about that. I think it draws good parallels here.
So basically they're kind of going around and doing that. It's basically just giving us a montage of how that goes. Like, we kind of see that the crowd is like smaller each time. But because basically when he's doing his last soliloquy, Liam Neeson walks around with his hat and collects coin from people who are willing to give it. So that's how they're making their money. And it's just kind of like showing them going together. It doesn't really show them communicating at all or having any sort of rapport. And then in the one show,
it does show him like helping him pee.
Oh, he helps him. Yeah. No, I mean, like, they're not.
They don't really talk. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't talk, is what I mean. And then the last show, they don't get anything at all. There were like 3 people in the audience, and they don't give him any money. And then Liam Neeson realizes that there are like the entire population of the city is off watching some other thing, and he goes and he investigates, and he sees this act where this guy is telling people from the crowd to yell out math questions, and then there's a chicken in a box with numbers, and so they're like, oh, what's 11 twice or whatever, and then the chicken fucking walks over by itself and pecks the 22 thing, and people are fucking eating that shit up, and then the chicken and Liam Neeson like lock eyes, and then the next scene is Liam Neeson like paying the guy to buy the chicken, and then
for a second I thought Liam Neeson was paying to have sex with the chicken, and I was horrified.
Oh my god!
What?
There's that scene where he goes and gets like a prostitute.
Oh, a prostitute! Yeah, I forgot about that.
The no arm and no leg man
into the
sits
room,
him in there,
but just turns him around,
and then turns him in the opposite direction so he can't watch.
Thankfully, like, they smash cut to after, so we don't have to sit through that.
Yeah,
it's pretty awkward though.
So
the ending though is
he brings back the chicken, and the guy with no arms and legs is kind of like eyeballing it, like, what's going on here? And then they're traveling, and it's just a shot of the guy with, you know, no limbs and the chicken in the back, and then Liam Neeson stops the cart, and then he gets out, and he's just like, because they've just traveled by this gorge. And
they crossed a bridge.
And then Liam Neeson kind of like looks down at the bridge, and then picks up a big rock, walks onto it, and like throws it into the water, and then he just walks back to the cart.
It's a large drop.
Yeah, it's a very large drop. He was basically like testing to see, you know, like how deep the water was and how far of a drop it was. And then he just walks back to the cart, and the guy with no limbs is kind of eyeballing him. And then the next shot is Liam Neeson driving elsewhere, and just the chicken is in the cart.
Yeah.
So he threw the guy over.
They don't specifically show that, but it's
implied. That is heavily implied. And
very heavily implied.
All there was to that one.
Yeah.
I think that one's really good, though. That was a nice break.
Yeah.
The next one,
yes.
So this one opens up with a prospector arriving in a valley where he thinks there's going to be gold beside a river. So for the first part, it's pretty much just a montage of him digging dirt, putting it into one of those machines. I can't remember what they're called.
And I gotta say, it is a beautifully shot short. Like the way they film nature and stuff is just absolutely great.
I really thought there was going to be more to do with that fucking owl by the end of it.
Yeah,
kept,
well,
doing a shot of the owl.
Like, it's hard
I was
to
really
know,
expecting, like, right at the end there for the owl to just, like, swoop in and slash his throat or something.
Yeah, but I guess that's the Coen brothers for you, is you think that something crazy is going to happen. But this one's pretty tame, I would say. So he's panning all of the dirt to see if there's gold, and he counts pretty much how many there are. And then he finally finds, like, an area where he thinks there's going to be...
triangulates.
Yeah. He marks them with sticks and shit. And starts to dig deeper and deeper. But then, during one day, I guess he spots the owl tending to a nest. And he gets kind of hungry. So he climbs up and decides that he wants to eat some eggs. But he realizes as he's pulling them out of the nest that she is watching him. So he starts putting them back, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, maybe one won't hurt.
How high can birds count?
Yeah, how high can birds count is what he says. So he takes it fast forwards to him eating some fish and one of the eggs. And then it goes forward to, I think it's like his third day of digging. He finally reaches what he refers to as Mr. Pocket.
Yeah,
it's a large gold vein. Yeah. So pretty much as soon as he discovers it, though, somebody comes up behind him, and it's a young guy who's been following him or watching him this entire time, waiting for him to do all the dirty work and dig the holes and everything. And he plans to kill him, take the gold, and pass it off as his own. So he shoots him in the shoulder, I think.
Yeah, kind of in the back.
Yeah, in the back somewhere, and the prospector falls down. The guy waits a minute just to make sure that he's actually dead and takes out a smoke. And then once he feels it is safe to go down there, he hops down. But prospector is playing dead all along, flips over, kicks the gun out, and then kills the young man with his own gun. And then
he's like, this motherfucker tried to shoot me in the back and
he's
let
just
me
like
do
going
all
off
the work
on all this shit. He gets out of the hole, goes and like cleans his wound out, realizes it went clean through, didn't hit anything vital, because apparently he's a fucking doctor and knows that shit. But
well, he's not dead. I think that's how he knows.
Yeah, but he could die later on. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure he could, but
I mean, knowing the time, he'll probably die of infection. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like it could still be lethal, but he finishes
we
mine with gold
because
we
got penicillin. Shit.
Yeah, but he's literally like bleeding. I guess he wraps it up and shit, but his wound is still open. He finishes mining the gold, like doing manual labor with this shit.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the valley with his mule and everything, pushing all this gold, and just like nothing's wrong. So
yep, that's the end of it.
Dude's fucking hardcore.
Yeah,
I was really fucking expecting the owl to come back at the end.
Yeah.
Chekhov's owl.
I mean, he does see the owl, like, they, look at each other and, I guess, acknowledge or honor, respect each other or whatever, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. No, the owl is like, kind of shown several times, but it never,
Yeah.
But that's fine. I enjoyed the ending of that one. I was like, oh, that was nice. I'm happy that this is the first one in which there wasn't, like, the death of the main character. I mean, I guess unless you consider Liam Neeson to be the main character of the third one, but...
Yeah. So next up, we got the gal who got rat.
This was actually probably the darkest one. I misremembered. I thought this was the last one.
Yeah, this one. I didn't really care for this one. So we start off at like a sort of dinner scene. We have Alice Longabaugh and her brother Gilbert. They're making their way toward Oregon. Because her brother.
Know how that goes.
Yeah, on a wagon train, because Gilbert has business prospects there.
Well, not only business prospects, someone who will marry his sister.
Who might marry his sister.
The person who he has business with.
And, nothing's for sure, because as we learn later, he's kind of a big talker. He's kind of all talk and no game, really.
Which adds more credence to the old adage of don't shit where you eat, but... Anyway, Gilbert dies of cholera, so that's fun.
Yeah, so he dies of cholera on the way there, leaving...
Which is absolutely not what happens in the game Oregon Trail, where they all die of dysentery.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah, cholera comes from infected water, and I mean infected with shit.
Yeah.
Human shit.
So maybe it is kind of dysentery that killed him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it was like an infectious cough, right? Like, they started off talking
I'm just saying,
about...
the dysentery might have been in the water that he then drank.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't know. It's stupid. Anyway, let's
he dies.
Let's keep going. Yeah.
Anyways, he dies, leaving Alice alone, and that's a problem because they hired a man to what was he hired to do? Just run the shit or whatever.
Yeah, to run the cart and bring. He was going to pay him halfway there, and then he was going to pay him the rest of the way.
Yeah.
The rest at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They buried the money with the body by accident.
Yeah, and
don't forget President. What's his face?
President Pierce.
President Pierce. Yeah.
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah. So thankfully, there's what's that dude's name? Billy.
Billy. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Billy who's pretty much in Alice's corner, and are helping her through all this. First, Billy, tells her about, how everyone is having a problem with the dog, and she doesn't really care about the dog, cause,
it wasn't hers.
It was her brother, yeah. So, they gotta put the dog down, so Billy goes out and, tries to put it down, but misses.
Yeah, he misses, he's trying to shoot it, he can't hit it, and then it scares him off.
Yeah, so the next day, she's having problems with the, hired help, who understandably wants to be paid, but can't, so he's threatening to, take the first wagon back home. So, what happens is, Billy, who's been
offers to marry her.
Yeah, offers to marry her, and, she actually, reciprocates. She, actually accepts his proposal, because they've been growing fond with each other over the ride, so...
It does take her a little bit to actually, think about it, though, but...
Yeah.
She sees that's her best option right now.
Yeah.
And he tells her about the Homestead Act, so once they get married, they can get to Oregon itself, and then they get 640 acres or some shit like that.
Anyways, the following morning, Mr. Arthur notices that Alice is missing, as Wikipedia would put it. He finds her... I realized I was directly quoting the thing, so I should probably point out that I was directly quoting the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's also
we don't
the
like
whole
plagiarism
thing about,
here.
Billy is talking about how he feels bad about how he's going to leave Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, but Mr. Arthur's a tough old boy. He can find new people to train up with him. He's fine.
Yeah. But it was like a whole dynamic in there where he was like, well, I just don't want to end up being old and end up dying without any children to take care of me. Like, I suspect Mr. Arthur might if he keeps on going with this routine.
But he notices that Alice is missing, and he goes off to try to find her. He finds her with President Pierce, who somehow survived and came back. But then notices on the hilltop that there is a Native American scout who signals to his party that there are white people to come scalp. Yep. So obviously they have to come do that.
And, what we have next is the racist depiction of Native Americans as hooting and hollering and trying to scalp people, which is not good, I should just say.
Yeah.
So the main thing that happens here, though, is Mr. Arthur gives Alice a pistol that, if he dies, she can shoot herself instead of being captured and supposedly, tortured in ways or anything like that, as a more humane offering to her. Mr. Arthur ends up not dying, but kind of dying. He plays dead and kills the last remaining Native American, but then realizes that when he played dead, that
she shot herself.
She shot herself because she thought that was the end, and she's just laying there with a bullet in her brain. Pretty sad, but
yep. And what really was the point of that one was is the
white
question.
People. That's the point. There's not a lot of great depictions of Native Americans in this series. I kind of lent that more to the fact that it's set as a spaghetti western type thing.
Yeah, it was
spaghetti westerns.
It's less of a spaghetti western, more of the classical western, that you see with John Wayne and stuff. What I get from all these shorts is that it's a caricature. They're supposed to be caricatures of the idealized West we see in Golden Age Hollywood, but it really feels, in their attempt to satirize it, I feel like they just copied it. It wasn't exaggerated enough for it to.
Yeah, the first one definitely, the actual Ballad of Billy Scruggs or of Buster Scruggs actually felt kind of like they were doing what you just said. But then, as they get further on, then it seems like it's more just, another example of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Me, the Native Americans were kind of shoehorned in there just for novelty's sake to, put some conflict in, and it didn't really feel like it was well thought out.
They didn't have to make it Native Americans. I get the reasoning. Classic Westerns used to use Native Americans as the zombies in a zombie movie, but that's, it's 2019. Don't do that. You could have just made them bandits or some shit,
Right, yeah. And then, so the last one is...
The Mortal Remains.
The Mortal Remains, and
this one is by far my favorite. But...
Really?
Yeah.
It was fun, but, so it's these 5 people in a, coach, is what we call it?
Yeah, it's a coach, stagecoach.
As a stagecoach. And, God, it starts off with one of the guys kind of singing a song, and people just kind of the Englishman kind of singing a song, and the other guys are sort of awkwardly listening.
So there are 5 people in the coach.
Yeah. So there's the 2 bounty hunters, basically the Englishman and the other guy who are sitting next to him. There's kind of a scruffy looking.
His name is Clarence,
hobo guy.
No, Irishman is Clarence.
Oh, Irishman is Clarence.
Hobo guy.
Does he have a name?
I don't think Hobo Guy has a name.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's a proper stuffy woman, old woman.
Yeah.
This is Benjamin.
Yeah.
This is Benjamin.
Benjamin, not
Hobo
Benjamin.
Guy's like a fur trapper.
He's a fur trapper,
yeah. According to Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And
So it's
a Frenchman?
Mrs. Benjamin, and then, a Frenchman.
So it kind of just goes about their interactions with each other, and somehow the Frenchman, the fur trapper, and the old lady get into like an argument on morality. And
They get into an argument on love at first, and it kind of turns into...
Yeah.
So the trapper goes on about a past relationship.
He's
where
just
he
saying
has
people are all ferrets, and that's...
Kind of.
Yeah.
Because he was in a relationship with a Native American woman, and they didn't speak the same language, but they still found a way to communicate through each other.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like that kind of harkens back to the beautiful savage trope that you see.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Miss Benjamin is talking all about how her husband had to go away because he was sick, and he's been waiting for her. And then the Frenchman's like, well, maybe he didn't
your
wait
husband
for
probably
you.
just doesn't really love you that
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
So they
And
get
he's
in
just
this
saying,
huge
like,
argument.
I'm just saying, it's a different kind of love because, the husband is, what is he? He's like
charismatic, so he can control the love of a room
yeah, so he's got a love of the room, whereas you
as
have a love
opposed to
just for
somebody
him.
who needs to get love through subjugation or something like that. Like,
Yeah. And
so
then
it's
this argument ends up leading to her almost like fucking passing out or something. 'Cause
she's
like,
starting to have an asthma attack or something like
an
that.
attack. And then they kind of all calm it down, and then one of the bounty hunters starts singing, not the same guy, but the other guy,
The Irishman.
and they're sort of talking about their kind of relationship with their bounty hunting business, about how the one guy like distracts them, and the
With a
other
sparkle.
guy, and the other guy, what was the word they used?
Thumps him. He thumps him.
Yeah, he thumps him. And he's just basically describing the situation that they're in, where he's saying, like, oh, like, I give them the nice little stories and talk them up, and then he thumps them. And then, like, you kind of see the expression on all these people's faces are like, is that what's happening to us right now?
Because then he goes on with the story about how he loves doing that, because while he's watching them die, he sees the look in their eyes as they try to navigate, I think it says negotiate the passage.
Yeah.
Between the worlds and everything, and they try to rationalize what's happening to them. So they're all trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the stagecoach... Well, first we should say, this entire time, the imagery, like the actual colors of the shot, go from being very warm and like reds and everything to just straight up grayscale almost and dark blues.
Well, because it gets to be later, too.
It gets to be later, or something else that we'll talk about later. But they roll up into town. It's a ghost town. There's nobody there. They walk up to this door. On one side of the door is what looks like an angel, and then on one side of the door is what looks like a demon head on the very top. It's pretty subtle. And they open the door to a staircase and a lobby of what supposedly is a hotel.
Right, sure. And then the bounty hunters are kind of saying, like, oh, so this body that we've bountied and we're bringing, like, let's put them in your room, okay? And they're just, like, carrying...
Whatever you say, boss.
Yeah, they're carrying in the body, kind of, like, going about their day, their business. And then the other three are kind of, like, hesitating to follow them in the door because they don't know if they're being led into some trap. And they're kind of, like, being like, no, you go first. No, you go first. And then eventually they all walk in, and there's a shot of the two guys still carrying the body up the stairway, but the top of the stairway is, like, this bright heavenly light. And then that's kind of it, right? The stagecoach leaves, and they all three go in, and we're not really sure what happens. And then that was the end of all of them. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we can get in later into like what we interpret happened at the end of that one, or any of them really. But yeah, that's kind of the way they went.
Yeah.
That must have been a long ass summary. I was not kidding.
It has been. We'll cut it down. But
Colin will cut it down.
Oh wow, it is pretty long. Ooh.
We did, yeah.
Well, we didn't start a new stop. Like, this includes intro and, like, while you were still getting on.
And,
but
we'll
how long could intro and story time be? Because this recording
I know. We'll figure it out.
All right.
Anyways, let's go into the domains now, starting with, I think I said Chowder first. So let's go into not zombie robots.
Robot Carnival. Yes.
Robot Carnival.
Yeah. So Robot Carnival is an anime anthology film. It consists of 6 short, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 short films.
Oh shit.
That's
trying to one up the topic.
Said that is sandwiched between an opening and an ending sequence. And like each short is directed by a different director.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're also pretty simple, so I can run through them very quickly. So
no, you can't. Don't you dare run through all 7 of them.
I'll keep it to a single sentence each.
Okay.
Alright. In the opening, the title of the film literally bulldozes its way through a town, Mortal Engine style.
Nice.
Then we have Frankenskier. A scientist creates a robot with, life, and he's overjoyed, he's jumping around, and the robot childishly, imitates what the scientist does. The scientist trips, and the robot imitates that, and trips too, on top of the scientist, killing him. Next, we have Deprive. A couple of robots steal a woman and beat up her android boyfriend dude, and then
happens.
And then the android boyfriend saves her, but not before defeating an evil David Bowie robot.
Naturally,
it's very 80s. This is very 80s. Then we have Presence. This is actually the most interesting one. So you have this guy who is, I can only describe as a feminist neckbeard, just talks about how enlightened he is about women, but still objectifies them. If you watch the short, you'll get what I mean. He is in an abandoned shack, is making his own female android for his own
for sex stuff.
I presume, yes. They don't explicitly say, but
they don't actually show robot sex in this movie?
No, they don't.
Lame.
Anyways, but the moment the robot starts to show any kind of personality, asking things like, what is my name? What is my purpose here? I feel alone, and and that loneliness is painful. He immediately just kills that robot, smashes it to bed.
Bummer.
Later on in his life, when he's an old man, he sees images of that robot just coming back to him. He goes back to the shack to make sure it's dead. It is in fact dead. This one's really good because it just has a lot to say about it. There's a lot you can read into it. Then you have Starlight Angel. A teenage girl goes to an amusement park only to find that her boyfriend's been cheating on her. She runs away in tears, but she meets a robot who sweeps her off her feet and does the "I can show you the world" thing. It was a romantic time. Imagine "Take on Me" by Aha.
Oh my gosh. Sure.
Then we have Cloud. This is actually a really experimental one where it's just a robot walking, and as he's walking in the background, we see the evolution of mankind from birth to death, and it's a very artsy kind of thing. I really like it, but I understand if it's not everyone's thing because it's super experimental. Then we have The Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture, Westerners of basically, a white dude tries to attack in a giant mecha robot that's steampunkish, and another dude, Japanese dude, fights back in his own samurai-themed steampunk robot, and shit happens. And last, we have Chicken Man and Redneck. Basically, it's Night on Bald Mountain, but with robots instead. Tokyo is overset by a bunch of robots dancing around at night, and there's a giant super robot that looms over everyone, but when morning comes they all leave, and only one man saw it all somehow, so there's that. And it ends with the title sequence from the opening breaking down in the middle of a desert, and that is Robot Carnival. Yeah, the reason I chose Robot Carnival is just it's a bunch of really, basically unrelated shorts tied together by the theme of robots and AI, and I think just like the juxtaposition of each one next to each other, despite different styles, tones, whatever, still informs each other, and I think that's interesting. And also, like when Pat said he wanted to talk about anthologies, Robot Carnival was a movie I've always wanted to see, but never took the time to just sit down and watch, and I just took this as an opportunity to go see something I've been wanting. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
I had never even heard of this before you said that you were going to rep it, so...
Yeah, that wasn't too long.
All right. Thank you very much for bringing that. Jeffy, what do you have for me?
Yeah. I'm talking about Love Actually, which is not traditionally speaking an anthology series, but it is comparable. It is a British romantic comedy that stars pretty much every famous British actor that you know. It's got Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Emma Thompson.
Liam Neeson!
Yeah. Liam Neeson again.
Isn't Liam Neeson Irish, though?
Yeah, but
We're
you know what I
figure
mean.
this out.
UK.
Is he actually Irish?
Yeah, he is.
Part of Ireland is not in the UK. In fact, the majority of it's not in the UK.
I'm sorry.
Bitch.
I don't know my fucking United Kingdom history, and you know what? This is not relevant, okay?
People died on Easter for this shit, okay?
Alan Rickman is also in it.
He is not Irish.
Oh, well, he's Irish in the movie.
Oh, no, he is Irish. He's in Northern Ireland, which is the part of the UK.
Oh,
that
okay,
is, like,
then.
There you
Yeah.
go. Hugh Grant is so basically it's a collection of not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9 little
man.
love stories between a bunch of different British couples leading up to Christmas. And they're not, it doesn't show one and then the other, but it is like 9 separate stories that barely interweave. They interweave in that, like, there are connections between the people, like the story that's going on with Liam Neeson's character, like, he's friends with Emma Thompson, and her story is, like, a different story. So, like, they know each other, but, like, they're not all involved in each other's stories. The stories, so there's a bunch of different ones. The Prime Minister, who's played by Hugh Grant, falls in love with his secretary, and that's one of them, and he's kind of, like, struggling with that dynamic, and, like, you know... Then the fucking president of the United States comes in and fucking hits on her. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all of them. Or I'm not going to, like, go into how all of them go. The one with Colin Firth is he was cheated on by his girlfriend, and then he's a writer, and he moves out to... I think it's in... I want to get this right. I think it's in Portugal. He has, like, a home there, and then he ends up, like... The woman who tends to the house, like, has this girl come in who doesn't speak any English, who...
Classic.
who works for him, and they end up, like, having an unspoken thing. That one's really cute because they, like, put her stuff in subtitles, so, like, they'll end up saying very similar things a lot of the time, but they don't know that they're saying similar things.
Kind of like the Fur Trapper.
Yeah, then there's a really funny one with, what's his name? Watson in Sherlock.
Oh, fuck. What is his name? Hold on. I'm Googling this real quick.
Martin.
Martin Lawrence?
No. His last name is Martin, I think.
Fucking name. Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah,
His
so
first name is
Martin Freeman, he and this other girl, their job is that they are stand-ins for sex scenes in movies. So their relationship develops by, like, them basically having, like, they're not literally doing it, but they're, like, faking sex on scene. Meanwhile, they're just having, like, small talk about, like, the traffic and the weather, and they end up, like, getting a rapport that way, and that one's really funny. Because, like, at the end of the movie, after they've gotten together, they're, like, all going to this Christmas play at the end, like, most of the characters are, and they're walking up, and someone goes, "Quite curious, how did you two meet?" And they both just go, and then it cuts to a different shot. There's a guy who is in love with his best friend's wife. Like, they just got married, and that's a thing. There's a woman who has a disabled brother, and she's got this love for someone who works in the office that she works in, and, you know, she can't kind of pursue that because she has to spend all her time kind of tending to her mentally ill brother.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yeah, Alan Rickman's story is, so he's married to Emma Thompson, and the fucking, like, the new secretary at their office, he's also this other woman's boss, but the new secretary of the office is, like, fucking hitting on him and trying to get with him, and he kind of ends up, like, sort of falling for that, and then that one kind of ends sad, but, that's most of them. They're just all kind of, like, charming, pretty simple love stories, idealized. It's a pretty funny movie. It's kind of a classic rom-com, just with sort of 9 stories instead of 1, and probably one of my favorite movies. So it's not like, I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about, because it's not directly an anthology, since it's not like one story after the other, and the stories do have like slight bits of connection, but it is basically like 9 different stories.
A bunch of different short,
yeah, that are kind of spread out, and then the one that this is another important one. The one with Liam Neeson is his wife died, and then his stepson from the wife announces that he's in love with this girl. So they're like kind of plotting together to like find ways to get him to get this girl, and it's kind of interweaving with them sort of mourning the mother at the same time. And the whole thing culminates with a musical that the kid is in, a high school musical, a high school Christmas musical, and then the lead singer is the girl that he's got a crush on, and like the whole thing is everyone kind of watching that, and then like a lot of the stories sort of culminate there, and the little girl is now Marceline the Vampire Queen, so that's a fun fact from Adventure Time.
Nice.
But yeah, so I don't know, I thought it would be an interesting thing to kind of compare to a more traditional anthology.
Perfect.
Alrighty.
I think Slamma, Jamma, Alabama.
Leaving me in such suspense. I didn't know how that was going to go.
Alright, well, I think on that note, we should get into the discussion section, as if any of what I just said is going to make it into the final cut.
Oh god, Colin's editing, you know it will.
Editor's note, stay tuned after the credits for more details.
He's not going to take an opportunity to cut out poop noodles.
He's not going to have time after our long-ass fucking summary.
True.
So, I guess let's jump into some discussion questions that I have about your experience with The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Do it.
First, we're going to talk about Meal Ticket, specifically the soliloquies that the Coen brothers chose for, I can't remember his name, Dudley. It's the actor who plays Dudley from Harry Potter. Harry Melling.
Is he?
He is. He's Dudley. Specifically the ones
Wow.
that they ask him to...
Really?
Yes, to
He
say.
looks so much thinner. And not
He
just because
does.
he doesn't have limbs.
Well, he's old. Like,
yeah.
it's been a while since he played Dudley. Anyway.
Yeah, but I just remember Dudley getting, like, huge over time. Like, he just became a proper big British bloke, you know?
I don't know. I feel like he started big and then got little, but he also didn't have legs or arms in the movie, so it's kind of like
Same.
weird. But anyway, the soliloquies that they chose once again are the Gettysburg Address, Ozymandias, Cain and Abel, and Sonnet 29. Admittedly, I know absolutely nothing about the Ozymandias poem.
I don't know anything about most of these. I know, like, a little bit about Cain and Abel, but...
you can sum up the Ozymandias poem as it's like a king bragging about how great his kingdom is and how it'll last forever. Cut to 100 years later, and that said same kingdom has faded away into nothing.
Interesting.
Even from our memory.
And that fits my point even better now.
Yeah.
So, to me, based on the snippets that they give you, like, in the beginning, they're just showing him off as, like, oh, he's this great actor, even though he has no arms and legs, he can articulate very well, he can express emotions through his face. But then as it goes on and you start to see the problems, they give you specific snippets of each quip and, like, soliloquy that kind of dictate how the story is going to go in the end and actually foreshadow Liam Neeson's character killing, supposedly, the actor. So in Ozymandias, where everything's gold and then it fades into nothingness, you have the opening soliloquies that are getting a lot of attention, a lot of money, and it starts to kind of go a little sour. They're not making as much money. The one thing, I guess, about the Gettysburg Address that stands out to me is the fact that it kind of has to do with slavery, and you could look at this relationship as kind of a slave relationship.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, maybe I'm a total idiot and I don't understand the passage of history, but doesn't this predate the Gettysburg Address?
No. This is definitely after.
When did the Wild West allegedly happen?
So,
I mean, it started before the Civil War,
and ended after the Civil War.
Ended after the Civil War. Yeah.
Okay. See, I never really knew exactly where it landed. I sort of figured it was like kind of like right after settling, so well before the Civil War. But
so it's definitely like it starts around the 1800s and everything, but I think it goes into the early 1900s out west, like out. When you get back east towards all the places that have been developing for a while, they skipped right over like the Western lifestyle
because they weren't.
This
west.
is all just like a long.
They were east.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it really like even up until 1903 and shit like that, there were people who were living out the Western lifestyle out here. Like Tucson, especially has a lot of like old Western vibes around. Sure. Tombstone is where the OK Corral shooting was. Also the shit. So like. Civil War was mid-19th century, like 1864, I think. So, until the 1900s started to set on in World War I and all that shit, it was pretty much like everything was lagging behind over to the west. They were relying on railroads to get everything over, and people still had to make railroads. It took a long time. So,
right.
You could make an argument that potentially this happens before the Gettysburg Address, but I think,
since he quotes the Gettysburg Address, probably not. But also, like, how did he get it? Right? Like, I guess it was probably transcribed and brought over there.
Yeah, it's the Gettysburg Address. It's been just transcribed and that's part of the reason he's performing it, because, not everyone got to hear the Gettysburg Address, so having someone recite it is something that's of worth to people.
Fair enough.
He's not only performing, he's giving them the news, alright? Very underrated. But he, specifically, this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, I think, from the Coen brothers. Sonnet 29 has this line in it that says, "And trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate."
Yeah, fuck you.
He literally has no legs, so he doesn't have boots. It's bootless cries. It's fucking hilarious. But then, what was it? Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel is the biggest.
Yeah, that's the big one that they kind of go back to a lot.
So for those of you who don't know, Cain and Abel is a biblical story where Abel was a very favored young man in God's eyes, and Cain was jealous, ended up murdering Abel to just become the favorite one. And then when God came down, asked him where Abel was, he was like, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And then God cursed him for somehow, but also said
fucking
that
murdering
whoever kills Cain would suffer vengeance sevenfold or something like that, and that's how the band Avenged Sevenfold got their name. It's fucking hilarious. That's not really important though. It kind of, you could make the argument that this relationship between Liam Neeson and Dudley, we're just gonna call him that for the rest of the fucking time. You could make the argument that that is a slave relationship in which Liam Neeson is exploiting Dudley.
Yeah.
But you could also make the relationship that they are brothers and codependent on each other, because without one, the other cannot survive.
Right.
But then once he finds that chicken,
yeah,
all hell breaks loose. It's Cain and Abel time, baby.
Actually,
so I never realized this.
If I'm right in the story of Cain and Abel, Cain kills Abel with a stone, right?
Yeah.
There's a part where Liam Neeson
he
throws
picks
the
a big
stone.
rock. Yeah.
he's at the bridge and he drops a rock in before probably killing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that relates. I think
It
Yeah.
definitely does.
Yeah.
So that's why,
So
when I first
never-
watched it, I didn't catch that, and then the second time through, I was like, I should look this shit up.
So something that I've never considered before when talking about Cain and Abel is, are their names intentionally that way? Because it kind of works for this one, because it's Cain and Abel. One of them is literally Abel, and the other one Cain is
I don't think that whoever
I don't
was
think
writing
that was
the
the
Bible
intent.
knew
yeah. I mean,
that
I don't,
language yet.
especially since it was translated. Those are their names, not
Yeah.
in common day English.
But
and
it
I
does
think
work
Cain is
out
with
here.
a
It's
K
pretty
and not a
funny.
C, but
Yeah.
that's funny, right?
Yeah, it's very funny. I also want to point out that another band got their name from something that's in here. Sonnet 29, that line I just read about Deaf Heaven. There's a black metal band called Deaf Heaven.
Of course there
They're
is.
not really good, but everybody fucking loves them for some reason. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
Can't both be true.
That was mostly what I got out of that vignette, I suppose. That was probably my second favorite one, just because it's so ridiculous and
Yeah.
arguably well acted.
I think
The other one that I really saw as having a lot of imagery was The Mortal Remains.
the last one.
Like we talked about how it goes from being a very vibrant and colorful kind of color palette into a more dark and remorse one. And the fact that they even refer to what they are doing as ferrying cargo is another biblical reference to the ferrymen
Yeah.
who... Or I guess it's not even biblical. I think that one's more Greek.
Yeah.
Of
ferrying people into Hades' domain
Yeah.
was a Greek thing.
Exactly. So to me, this is kind of like the passage that they're on the passage between life and death, and maybe even
And they're being tried.
yeah.
Yeah.
So originally, I thought the Englishmen and the Irishmen were actually dead as well, but as I watched it again, I kind of thought that they're were kind of like the ferryman, the stagecoach driver.
They call themselves reapers.
Exactly.
They literally say that.
Yeah.
So, they call themselves reapers, and it's I thought, okay, fine, but maybe they were actually just bounty hunters. It went wrong. They got killed as they were trying to find somebody.
Sure. But then how dead is the dead guy, really?
I think with that, I think they're just grafting the aesthetics of the Western onto Purgatory / Judgment Day. Yeah.
That's what I got out of that. Specifically when I saw that one side of the doorway had an angelic figure and the other side had a demonic figure. And then as they go up the stairs, there's a bright light and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they are kind of forced to reconcile everything that they did in life and what kind of people they are, it kind of like plays to the whole adage that once you get to heaven or like you're right outside the gates, I think it's St. Peter will call your name and like usher you into heaven,
like in that song,
or he will like send you back down to purgatory or some shit. So to me, it was just like they are acting as the gatekeepers into heaven, as it were, and seeing how the three people react.
They kind of figure that out at the end, or at least think that they're about to get murdered.
And that kind of goes along with the song that the Irishman is singing. There's a line in it. I'm trying to find all of the lyrics, but I can only find a couple. The main variant of the song includes like soldiers, sailors, maids, and cowboys being cut down in their prime and contemplating their deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of alludes to it as well. There's a line that says, "My jewel, my joy, don't trouble me with the drum. Play the dead march as my corpse goes along, and over my body throw handfuls of laurel, and let them all know that I'm going to my rest." And that's the song that the Irishman sings to kind of calm everything down as they're finally making the transition. That song actually happens right when the last of the color fades out. Mm-hmm. And that's like, so to me, that's him
some
singing
clever
the song
shit right there.
and them passing over specifically into being dead. All around, I like this one just because you don't know what's going on until very far into it. Like, it's very confusing, but it's still very engaging. The Englishman specifically kept me captivated the entire time.
Do you see these vignettes as like, how do I want to, like, do you think that the order of them was selected carefully and that they have not necessarily a narrative continuation, but some sort of thematic continuation as they go through? Or do you think it was just like, oh, they got these 5 stories, all take place in the West. This is how it maybe reads best to put them? Because
I mean, I think that like inevitably that like whether they intended for any kind of through line between these 5 vignettes or not, they all inform each other because they're packaged together, because that's just how we are. When you put things together, we like to find the pattern, and I think they end up informing each other, even if...
Oh, of course, yeah, I mean, they do absolutely
they're undeniably
end up informing
Coen
each
Brothers
other.
productions, like...
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, like, whether or not the order of them was, like, intentional.
So...
And... Because, like, I, in terms of the ones that I like, I think most of them were kind of earlier. But, like, I definitely see the tone, like, the tonal shift throughout of it, where it does ebb and flow a little bit in because I think the 4th one is, or the 5th one is the darkest, not the 6th one. But
yeah, definitely.
But, like, do you think that there was something there in terms of, like, oh, we start off with the actual Ballad of Billy Scruggs. This is kind of like a silly Western where no one's even questioning the fact that he can take off his own hat and look at his own bullet wound before he dies, and then it goes into this kind of cerebral sort of purgatory state for the last one. Like, do you think that there was some sort of, like, continuation there, or, like, it was just them trying to try out different things and that's just how they put it? I don't know. I guess I just want to talk a little bit more about the fact that they're the anthology aspect of it and, like, how these things all play off of each other and relate to each other, right?
Yeah, so I think that they picked the order specifically to appeal to a larger audience at first and try to, like, capture them into investing themselves in this, and then kind of getting into more of the nitty-gritty. Like, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I think anybody could watch that and probably be entertained by it. Same thing with Near Algodones. Meal Ticket, they kind of test the waters by having that dark ending, but it's still overall pretty, like, lighthearted and entertaining.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, like, the whole thing is mostly a montage.
Yeah. Same thing with All Going Canyon's pretty much a montage, but, like...
Yeah, that's true.
It starts to slowly get more into, like, the art behind it rather than being funny or being entertaining, specifically just for the novelty of being entertaining. The Gal Who Got Rattled, I really didn't like all that much. Like, yeah, I get at the end it was, like, incredibly fucking... I guess not ironic is the word I want, but...
It's supposed to leave you with a sort of hollow feeling, I guess.
Yeah, and that it did.
But, like, to me, like, the best ones are Meal Ticket and the very end one. So I think they tried to capture you in the middle and then end it on a bang. But
yeah, I feel like the Ballad, or the anthology as a whole, is meant to be a caricature of, like, golden age Hollywood westerns.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like
I definitely see it because like each one kind of represents a different sort of element of it. Like you've got the Oregon Trail, you've got like the flamboyant shooter, and you've got like
you got like the con man.
Yeah, the con man, and
the robber. But like I also said before,
and gold digging. That was the other one I was trying to think
the
of.
prospector. Yeah, exactly. But like I said before, I don't think they do enough to exaggerate it, so it feels like another example of those golden age Hollywood stuff. Than it is a satire of it, I think.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think I'd say that it was meant to be a satire of it.
Well,
I think
no, satire, not the exaggeration, character parody, but not satire. It doesn't really have.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it was more of like a callback to those things. Like, hey, this is a style that existed, and
they're
it might
like
have
kind
been
of
problematic,
romanticizing
but
it a little bit.
Yeah,
but
let's just make one. You know?
Yeah, it was very nostalgic.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like to me, I didn't see a lot of imagery. This might just be me, not seeing what the Coen brothers put in. I didn't see a lot of imagery in the first two. I saw a lot of it in the second one.
Yeah. The first one I really liked for what it was, though. Like, it was just, like, thoroughly enjoyable, like, him doing all these, like, flamboyant murders and then, like, the ridiculous death at the end, and...
Yeah.
I don't know. But, like... I mean, I guess I can't really talk about that with Love Actually, because it's, like... I mean, it's not an anthology in that sense. Like, the order definitely mattered because they kind of go back between different themes throughout the movie, but...
So, Jeff, I wanted to talk to you to compare the two. Do you think that the fact that all of the stories are actually connected in Love Actually, and you actually get a conclusion at the end, does that kind of elevate that style of movie telling or storytelling over what you would think an anthology series does? Because it's more like you have 6 individual conclusions that aren't very big and whole, whereas you have the individual conclusions to each storyline, but then one big conclusion that wraps it all up in this giant musical moment of love.
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, like, that's where the movie ends, but most of the stories conclude before that. Like, only, I want to say 2 or 3 of the stories conclude at that point. Most of the other ones conclude either before that or right after it. So they do all have their own separate ending. It's just like, oh, start, middle, ending, instead of start, middle, ending, you know? So I think that, like, they're definitely undeniably different, and I wouldn't really want to say that one or the other is better. I think that having the little vignettes is really nice to kind of like get different stories, and it's sort of like an episodic type thing, whereas how they did it in Love Actually, they had a bit more of an opportunity to kind of like make specific tie-ins. Like a lot of the sad moments happen around the same time in the movie, and like all the climactic moments happen at the same time in the movie and stuff like that. So they got to kind of like parallel their different plots and like treat some of them more seriously than others. Whereas in a traditional anthology, each story gets its own time. So I think that like it's different in that way, but I wouldn't really want to say that one is better than the other. Basically, is what I'm saying.
So I guess that's very fair, but like to me, I didn't really experience it much in this anthology, but in other anthologies, like in the Twilight Zone and specifically in Black Mirror, I feel very unfulfilled at the end of one of those episodes because I want more of that story.
Love Actually's plot let it get away with having a lot of the stories be like pretty shallow and not have to dive into any deep things, you know? Like they got to do a full movie, but each of the stories, like when you actually break down what happens in each plot, it's really minimal. You know, a lot of it is just charming moments kind of with the plot built around it.
Yeah, like the thing with Love Actually is it sort of like takes like the parts of a romantic comedy and like compresses it so that it gets rid of like all the in between and just has like the high points.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
which is, for me, why I find it such an enjoyable movie. Like, when you actually look at the love plots there, it's just like, I don't know, you know, like, you met each other yesterday, but...
Yeah,
but it's like...
Yeah, with, like, Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, though, they're, like, cautionary tale, or most of the episodes are, like, cautionary tale, so...
Yeah.
Like, if those stories did continue, it would kind of defeat the purpose of a cautionary tale, which is to say...
Yeah.
We could have a society like this, so you better watch out.
And
you better watch out.
You better not cry.
You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out. That's a great find. Anyway, I didn't think there would be much of a difference going in between the anthology as a series and the anthology as a movie. But like, that's like one of the big things is I noticed is like I don't think at all about the order of Black Mirror episodes. I mean, like they have Easter eggs, but like it doesn't make me feel even a little bit like there's a continuous, you know, thematic message going on. Whereas watching these in a movie, I thought a lot about the order.
Yeah,
you know,
because just the fact that you sit down and watch it all in one sitting, your mind starts to like associate things inevitably, you know. Whereas, like,
do you feel that it's kind of that way in the movie that you brought as well?
Yeah,
since that's also a movie, right?
Yeah, I do, because, like, you know, each short is directed by a different person, and they all have different tones, and, like, you know, each director is, you know, like an auteur in their own right, so...
I actually want to cut in real quick. Do they also have different artists?
Yeah, I was wondering that, too.
Is the art style the same between them all, or...?
The art style is different between them all, you know, like...
That's pretty crazy.
Cool. I want to watch this.
Yeah. For example, Presence is much more detailed than, say, Deprive or Starlight Angel, which Deprive and Starlight Angel are like quintessential 80s anime, my friend. And and then like Strange Tales of Meiji Machine Culture Western's Invasion is very, very like cartoonish looking in comparison. Like the order in which they appeared doesn't really matter because, their common theme is simply being about robots and AI, but, and really the only one I think they had any intentionality with was the last one simply because it had the flashiest animation, so. Yeah.
Yeah, and like also knowing that it's different directors too for each one, it's like it's not like they told them to like embody a specific sort of narrative archetype. So it's like it's even less likely that the order of those would have been significant. I mean, they might have curated it a little bit, like decided which ones, you know.
Like what I imagine happened was like, you know, somebody said, "Hey, we're making an anthology thing. The theme is robot, go wild.
Go for it." Yeah.
And like everyone did their thing. Yeah.
Whereas sorry, go ahead.
You go on.
I was gonna say like something like Black Mirror or Twilight Zone, right? Like the episodes, like they all follow a similar theme, right? Like Twilight Zone is basically a bunch of what if situations. And, well, I mean, I guess Black Mirror is too, but Black Mirror
specifically
they try to take
something and blow it up to its extreme to show why it's bad.
Right. But, like, Black Mirror is specifically about, like, a bunch of different types of technology. They keep a kind of pretty consistent tone throughout the whole thing. Yeah. So, like, that's what makes it all work as a series, whereas, like, even there was a pretty good amount of variation of tone in all of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs different vignettes. So, like, the common theme was the Western.
Yeah, but they all still feel like they have that Coen Brothers style to them. Like, even no matter how, no matter how different they get, they all feel tied together by the same visionaries, you know?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
But that's what's crazy about yours, is there's different directors, different artists, different settings, different everything, and they're all packaged together. And that's kind of what a true anthology is. Yeah. It's not supposed to necessarily be linked at all.
Yeah. Right. I mean, there should be some sort of link. Otherwise, like, why is it not just like a collection of...
it's like, it's usually a collection of stories.
Like even my movie is like all the shorts are sandwiched between like an opening sequence and an ending sequence that involves like this giant city shaped like this giant city robot carnival thing shaped like the logo.
Yes, it's still an anthology because it's got the common themes of robots, but if it didn't have that common theme, it had different directors, different art styles, and they were all just packaged together. I don't know if I'd call that an anthology rather than just like a collection of shorts. You know, like if you watch all the Oscar nominations for short stories, right? Like that's not an anthology. You know, those are just several things that fall into the same media category.
Yeah. I think a better example would be like on Netflix. Disney has like a series, like all the like all the shorts they show before like they show the feature film.
Yeah.
They have all those shorts in one thing,
Sure.
and that wouldn't
Right, and that's a collection, not an anthology.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, when you're talking about anthologies, it's like, I think that it's gotta have something that ties it together, whether that be, like, a consistent message, a consistent setting, or a consistent, like, sort of, narrative theme of, like, the robots or whatever.
All right. I got one more question that I want to ask Chowder.
Okay.
To me, and you kind of brought this up as well, the Coen Brothers series isn't necessarily like a satire, but it's definitely a parody. There were a couple things that stood out to me when you were describing Robot Carnival that they were kind of trying to parodize, or I guess parody is the actual word there in and of itself. Like, yeah.
No, let's make parodize a word.
Yeah, they were parodying some stories like Frankenstein and everything. Is the entire thing meant to be like a parody in and of itself, or is it just like they chose a couple?
No, actually, because like some of them are pretty tragic. Like Presence, the one about the neckbeard who like creates his own waifu and then kills her the moment she shows any kind of personality. That is twinged with this sort of somber like tragedy. And the same goes for Cloud. Yes, Cloud. Cloud, which is just like an incredibly somber piece about like mankind destroying itself as a robot like sees it all and just wants to end himself,
Yeah, but to me that can still kind of be a parody. It's not like a funny parody, but it's like, let's look at this theme that is kind of stereotyped across the neckbeards of the world, how they're like super into waifus, and then like let's play it out to its extreme.
Sure, that's more of a commentary than a parody.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah,
especially since like I feel like if you're parodying something, then you're talking about like a different kind of of media. Whereas you're not like parodying neckbeards, you're kind of commenting on the toxic sort of hypocrisy of it.
Like the difference between a parody and a satire is a satire has like a message it wants to convey, while a parody
it's just like
tends to
fucking
just
poking fun at shit.
Celebrate, poking at it. And like, if nothing else, Presence I would not consider a parody because it has something very specific it wants to say. But like, then again, I would also consider Frankengear a parody or a strange.
Yeah, that definitely sounds.
Yeah, Strange Tales a parody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we should probably move on. We've been talking for quite a while, but it was very good discussion. I thank you both for everything that you brought to the table. I am mostly talking right now to kill time until I bring up the recording guide, and here we go.
Wait, we should still... I mean, I don't know what it says in the guide now, but we should still mention the
listener questions.
Thing. Yeah, right, even though we didn't have any. But
yeah, so we didn't have any listener questions this week. I think we need to be a little bit more proactive on acquiring those. But if you want to have your own question or comment read on the show, we make posts on Facebook and Twitter where you can comment or reply, and we'll be sure to talk all about it. You can see those every other Friday when CGP is off the air. Likes, shares, and comments all enter you into a raffle, giving you a chance to pick your own topic for a future episode. That was me doing finger guns at you. So yeah, thank you both for an adjective discussion.
Word.
I fucking love that shit. Now, we'll move on to the rating section, and I'm gonna have you guys rate the topic of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs on... Yeah. Tell me how many shots you're gonna shoot off of my trigger hand.
Okay,
I gotta think about it.
Yeah, I'm put in a weird position where I did like... there was stuff I liked about the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, but there were also things that kind of bored me a little, and also like the depiction of Native Americans in that movie leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But I also want to be fair because I did enjoy it, so I'm gonna say 2.5. It was good, but I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it over something like The Big Lebowski or
other Coen Brothers things.
Other Coen Brothers things, yeah.
Damn.
Fargo.
Okay.
I mean, I would still consider that like a average to slightly below average score. So
I personally don't watch anything below a 3, but unless it's supposed to be bad.
Yeah, I don't know. See, this is a tricky one to rate because I have pretty different ratings for each of the individual ones. But I'd say on a whole, I think the only one that I really got to the end of and was like, didn't like that was the 5th one, the Oregon Trail one. You know, like that one kind of just left me feeling like, well, what really was the point of that? And maybe that's the feeling it was supposed to leave me with, but regardless, I still have that feeling. But I really liked the actual Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I enjoyed the shit out of that one. I liked the James Franco one.
The first 2 I really liked, and I would actually recommend those to people.
Yeah.
The last 3 is like a maybe
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked the Liam Neeson one for what it was, but not my favorite. And then I did enjoy the gold prospecting one. So I think, gosh, I think.
If only this were out of 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I guess I'm gonna go 3.5. I was kind of going 3.5 or 4, but because I started off watching it, I was like, oh, I enjoy the shit out of this. But then when I got to the end of it, there were like just a couple in there that made me kind of like, I don't know if I needed to have watched that.
Yeah. By the end of it, I feel a little exhausted with this. So yeah.
Yeah, I sort of feel like it would have been better as episodes rather than as a movie. So yeah, I think I'm gonna land on 3.5, but that's a teeter between 3.5 and 4. Dare I say 3.75 to really violate my own rule.
You can do that, yeah.
But
I mean, if you're willing to make it a 3.75, I'm willing to make mine a 2.75.
Oh shit, we're haggling up in
here. I thought you were going to go
here.
the opposite way and go 2.25.
So, okay, yeah, a tentative, somewhere between 3.75, if you will. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed most of the stories.
Alright, bump mine up to a 2.75.
Sick!
But yeah, it was fun. I wouldn't, it had its problems, but I'd still recommend it, I would say. They're fun.
Alright, well, I feel a little hurt, because this is probably one of my favorite movies that I've seen in quite a while, at least recently.
Now I just want to go up to 4. I'm closer to 4.
No, that's cool. I would personally probably give it like a 4.25. I understand it's not like amazing by any means, but it definitely spoke to me a little bit. I guess when I was first watching it,
I'd give the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the first one, I'd give that one like a 4.9 or something. Like I really enjoyed that one.
I like, if nothing else, I really enjoyed the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. That was a fun time. Yeah.
I will say that I didn't really think about the racist Native American depictions my first go around, mostly because I think I was a little bit accustomed to it because that's basically how every other Western movie was, so I didn't see it as out of the ordinary. But
yeah, it caught my eye, but I was like, well, it's kind of the aesthetic it's going for. It's just about like whether or not they chose to actually put that in there, and they did choose to do that. So
they did choose to, and they didn't do it very well. They kind of shoehorned it in, like we said. But next, I will award a Gold Star student. That's very poorly written. All right, we're going to start this over. Next, I will award one of you a Gold Star Student Award, giving the reward to the person who I think best.
There are
too many things that I have to fucking come up with on the script. All right, fuck this shit.
Like the topic, the entire discussion.
I'm gonna give this to the
Boo,
representative.
agency.
Yeah, fuck agency. Let's bring it back to episode 2, motherfucker.
No, that was episode 10, I think.
10, whatever. Still, a long time
I'll
ago.
stop interrupting
I
you.
am going to give this award to the person who I think best exemplifies what I think is like. I'm just talking out of my ass. I'm trying to get to the fucking horse, but I'm at the cart still, alright?
Wonderful analogy.
Yeah, just the person you thought did best.
Boom, done. The person I enjoyed the most in terms of what they brought to the table, their discussion, their kind of links to all of the what they brought into what I brought, and also their critiques that I found very valid. I'm not going to do the thing where we pitter pat around and tell each of you what you did well.
What's the award?
Oh yeah, the award is a gold cowboy hat, unless we've already done that.
No, we haven't. I don't think.
Yeah, okay, cool. You get a gold cowboy hat, specifically with a hole in the front and a blood splattered hole in the back.
Right on.
So I get whoever wins gets shot in the head. Then,
oh, you get real presumptuous up in here.
Well, no, you just get the hat. Somebody else was shot, you get the hat.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So I'm going to give this award to, drumroll please, Chowder.
Yeah! Yay.
Yeah, Chowder,
darkness, my old friend.
I am still not the biggest anime fan, but based on what you told me about Robot Carnival, it sounds very interesting. It sounds like something I would be willing to watch, at least, because it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a very modern anime that I think goes too over the top with a lot of the stuff. But also,
yeah, it's 1987, so
yeah,
it, like before like some of the stuff that you would consider anime.
Yeah.
It's retro stuff. Is what I think.
Back in the golden days of like Transformers style anime.
Yeah.
Transformers is not an anime.
Whatever. We've gone over this.
Made in America.
Cartoon. Yeah, I think you just drew a lot of good parallels, and the way you spoke about Robot Carnival made me really rethink my opinion of anthology series, where I was of the opinion that Jeff was, that they needed kind of like an overarching theme to tie them all together, but I think Robot Carnival proves that you don't necessarily need that, besides just being a theme of being an animated like series. But
yeah,
I mean, it was also all about robots. I thought
yes,
that's where I landed.
Each story had a robot in it, but they were all vastly different, like narratives at least, or not maybe vastly different, but they varied quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I very much enjoyed that.
Chowder just won because of what he brought. Man, fuck you. That's not fair. I was dead before I started.
Well, you weren't dead before you started. You just didn't describe it as well as Chowder described his. So be better, Jeff. Anyway, that about wraps it up. Thank you for listening to the Common Geeking Program. I am your host, Pat, and you can find me on Twitter at PureRiffery and Instagram at PattyIceOfficial. I play a lot of video games with Colin, and that's pretty much it. And then I've been joined by...
Howdy, y'all. I'm Timul, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter at TimulChowdery. You can see how that's spelled in the description. Yeah, good evening, partners. Buckaroos and vaqueros.
Sure. My name is Jeff Leavitt, and you can find me on Instagram at Things I Wish Existed. One of these days, I will get Pat to love me and give me a gold star, but I guess that was not today.
I thought I've given you one before.
I don't think so.
Have I never?
No. We've had several episodes where I really think that I should have won, but then I didn't.
I feel like I've never given Chowder one.
I don't think you have.
I don't believe that. I'm fucking.
So either way, it was somebody's time. Okay, it was somebody's time. Anyway, the next episode will be hosted by Chowder.
Yo, me.
What you gonna be talking about?
I'm gonna be talking about Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, I am on an anime kick, apparently, because, like, last thing I was talking about was an anime, and then, whatever, anyways.
Hey, Pat, who won the Kingdom Hearts episode? Just wondering.
Jocelyn.
Did she?
Wait.
I don't remember.
Oh, no, I won that, yeah.
Yeah, you did. Get out of here.
Whatever, man. I forgot that I was technically the one who chose that, but that's not a real episode. Those are verses.
There was only a 50-50 chance.
Dragon Ball Super Broly.
They're all a 50-50 chance.
They weren't before. They used to be fucking 33.33333. Bitch.
Yeah, this one is, though. This is what I'm saying.
Point is,
let me be salty.
Be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now to listen to Chowder, Ryan, and Eddie talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly. That will be airing on the 15th of March. Pretty sure that's tax day or sometime around there.
No, the correct way to say that, though, is Chowder and Eddie, Ryan.
Oh, true. Eddie, Ryan. But that is definitely the Ides of March, so beware that one. Somebody please make a Caesar reference so that we can make that the title. Anyway, thank you for listening, subscribing, sharing, everything. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you not next week. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. This is a dumb fucking recording guide.
Woo!
Alright, so is this
Does it
the
say
part
next
where we
week?
stab you, Pat?
It says next week, yeah.
Is this the part where we stab you, Pat?
Am I dying?
I mean, you said make a Caesar reference. I
Yeah,
guess
next
we gotta...
week.
Oh, okay.
Wow, you fucking give him the gold star over me, and now the motherfucker wants to stab you. This is what you get for it, Pat.
I feel very underappreciated, Chowder.
I'm
E2
sorry.
Chowder.
Alright, well, let's stop recording.
Alright.
E2 Chowder.
This episode of the Common Geeking Program is hosted by Pat Brehm. He's joined by Timul Chowdhury and Jeff Leavitt. This episode is sponsored by a 35-minute summary recording. It's supposed to take 12 minutes, but you had a 35-minute summary recording. That's longer than the discussion. Do you know what happens when you over-record a single section? It throws off the entire rest of the project in weird ways. The podcast is created and produced by Colin, Ketchen, and Jeff Leavitt, with this episode edited by me, Colin Ketchen, featuring original music also by me. We'll have another episode of the Common Briefing Program available later today, so check for that in your feed. Check out commongeekingprogram.com and our Patreon at Geeking Program. We hope to hear from you in 2 weeks, and you will hear from us, and thank you for listening to this.
Slamma, Jamma, Alabama.
We
You
ho,
leaving me in such suspense. I didn't know how that was gonna go.
Well,
Do you
our
guys-
sky
do you guys
starts
know
to
what an-
blue.
Episode title?
What an Alabama Hot Pocket is.
Is it a sex thing?
Yes.
I don't want to know.
Okay, fine. You definitely would not like it, Jeff. If you don't like poop noodles, you definitely will not like an Alabama Hot
Who
Pocket.
likes poop noodles?
I don't think anybody likes them, but it's just kind of funny to think about
Also,
poop noodles.
you gotta fucking stop just casually bringing up poop noodles on this podcast and saying that is the thing that relates to me without explaining the context. But also, and again, we're not going to explain the context. But now twice you've said like, oh, poop noodles is a thing for you, which implies that I get them, and I just don't.
No, I'm not trying to say you get them. I'm not trying to say that you like them. It's just that you are inherently tied to poop noodles in my mind.
But
That's it.
last time you just casually referred to me having a poop noodle noise.
Oh, yeah. You do.
I know I do, but without the context of that, it's like, what
I
does
know.
that mean?
Wait,
It's very funny.
did you keep it in that episode? Wherever you
I think
mentioned?
so.
Oh,
I don't know what it was, but I think it was left in, yeah.
Oh dear.